What's up guys, it's Brian here, and today I've got a couple custom minifigures to show you guys that I've been working on recently. In some of my spare time, I've just been scouring Bricklink for cool parts that I could use to make some characters that I didn't have in LEGO before. And there's also just a couple customs in this video that I kind of threw together on a whim. So let's take a look at some of these customs. The first custom I'm going to show you guys is probably the simplest of the bunch, and it is Tales of the Jedi, Jedi Master Count Dooku. I'm very happy with how this guy turned out. I actually made an earlier version of this Count Dooku and put him on my Instagram a while ago using the Snap Wexley head and a different hairpiece. But then I saw somebody use the Doctor Strange head for Tales of the Jedi Count Dooku, and I really like that. But then I used my own hairpiece just to be individual. But I really like the way this came out. He actually uses the Clone Wars torso and legs, which is just plain black legs, for Count Dooku, because I didn't feel like taking apart my other Dooku. But, I mean, you can use the alternate face if you want, even though he doesn't really smile in Tales of the Jedi, so I just have him on his more mean face. And you can kind of see what hairpiece that is as well. Very simple one, but very effective. I like the way it looks for Jedi Master Dooku / young Darth Tyrannus. Now, this wouldn't be a Watermelon Studios custom showcase without showing you a clone trooper, right? And you might recognize this guy as Captain Wilco from Episode 2. Was he also in Episode 1? I don't know. Of The Bad Batch Season 2. This was a very quick little custom I threw together, just because I wanted to make a little Captain Wilco in LEGO form. He uses the newer torso and legs for clone troopers that was in the accessory packs, but then just that very rare Phase 2 white helmet. The pauldron is from the Death Troopers from 2016. Oh, I did accidentally use a dark brown hand for this figure. I made him very late last night, and there wasn't the great lighting in my apartment, so whoops. And I just gave him Syndrome's arms from the Disney CMF series, just to give him a little bit more detail and to make this custom just look a little bit more rounded off and finished. And of course, if you want to have the hairpiece, this is the hairpiece that works very well for him. Just having that flat top. No spoilers, obviously, but this is just a clone stormtrooper who appears in the premiere of The Bad Batch. Very simple custom, but very effective. I really like the way this guy turned out. I'm not going to keep him together, obviously, because I like having these the pauldron on the Death Trooper and the helmet on, the trooper that he's supposed to go to. But still, a fun little custom to put together. Our next figure on the list is my version of the Client from Mandalorian Season 1. This is a minifigure I've wanted ever since we saw the trailer, because he's just such a great character in Season 1. Werner Herzog just looks so cool as he's giving Mandalorian all of his directions and everything and his missions. And I just finished up this figure by adding this cape, which I'll talk about in a second. He uses the torso and legs of the new Greef Karga figure. I swapped out his arms for black arms, and his hands for light nougat. I think that's the color, light nougat. Those color hands, the fleshy colored hands. And so I just gave him black arms instead of dark brown arms. But I think this torso and legs for Season 2 Greef Karga actually works very well for Season 1 The Client. He uses a head from Fantastic Beasts. I think it's Grindelwald, if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know. He does have an alternate face, which actually does still work fairly well. I just like this face because it just looks like he's giving the instructions, I would like to see the baby. And then this hairpiece, I think, works the best for him as well. I experimented with a different couple ones. That one works pretty good. I also gave him just this little piece to represent a tracking fob. But this cape really made the figure come together. And yes, this is a LEGO cape. It is from the Overwatch line. I'll put the minifigure up on the screen right now. You can see what minifigure I'm talking about. But it's from Overwatch, and this is what the cape looks like. I think the Overwatch figure is called the Reaper, but this is what the cape looks like. I found these on Bricklink, and I bought a couple of them just to see what it would look like on a minifigure. And I can't believe this is an official LEGO cape. It only came in one minifigure in one set, but it makes the Client just look perfect with his broad shoulders, and it just gives his outfit a whole extra texture to it. I'm very happy with how this figure came out, and he's very prominent on my Mandalorian display shelf with my other Mandalorian figures. And speaking of the Mandalorian, we've got my custom version of Moff Gideon. I do not have the Moff Gideon Light Cruiser, and I won't be getting it because I'm just not interested in that set whatsoever. But I really wanted a Moff Gideon minifigure, and I don't think, here's my hot take, is that I don't think the face print in that set works well for the Moff. I just think he needs a little more gray, he needs a little bit more expression in his face, and it just doesn't do that for me in the set. So I had to use a generic torso. The torso in the actual minifigure looks very, very good. but I used this Imperial crew member from the 2018 Solo Battle Pack, just to give him that Imperial torso. I gave him 2 capes, one that's red underneath and one that's black over, just to give that dual the dual appearance. He has a red cape on the inside and black on the outside. And yeah, there is a cape on Bricklink that is on both sides. One of the sides is black, one of the sides is dark red, but that's like a $5 piece, and I wasn't about to do that, so I just gave him 2 capes. It looks fine. The head print. I actually think this head print works much better for Moff Gideon than the official one. This is Rise of Skywalker Lando Calrissian. I think it works very well for Moff Gideon because it has that little bit of gray in the mustache. The alternate face is a little too happy to be Moff Gideon because, you know, Lando's a happy guy. But I think this facial expression and this, like, having the gray accents in his eyelashes and mustache works so well for Moff Gideon. And I gave him a dark gray hairpiece instead of a black hairpiece. There is a perfect hairpiece used in the Harry Potter. I think it's Percival Graves' hairpiece, which is black. The base color is black, and then it's printed gray on the sides. That's the perfect hairpiece for Moff Gideon, but that's a very expensive piece. So I just went with the gray because I don't know, it looks more like Moff Gideon to me than just having like a black hairpiece and making him look young, because he's an older looking dude. And this Darksaber is actually from Brickmania, so this is not a Lego piece, but it just looks so good with Moff Gideon. I had to use it. So I'm very excited to have this Moff Gideon figure. I will be keeping this figure built in my collection because I don't really have a use for Rise of Skywalker Lando at this time. So I'm very happy to have a Moff Gideon to add to my collection that I actually think looks pretty good. And last but not least, we have one of my favorite customs in this video, possibly my favorite custom in this video, is Kino Loy from Andor. He was in, I believe it was 4 episodes of Andor, played by Andy Serkis, obviously. And he just gives that amazing speech at the end. I loved the way that he was handled in Andor. I just loved Andor in general. And just having this character in LEGO is just something I really wanted as soon as I saw his arc complete in the Andor television series on Disney+. So I went right to work trying to find pieces that would make a good Kino Loy. The head print is Obadiah Stane from Iron Man 1. I believe that figure came out either last year or the year before, but it's actually a bald figure, the Obadiah Stane, so you might recognize that from somewhere. I debated on what hairpiece to give him. I was between a couple of them, but I ultimately decided on this one. It's funny, actually 3 figures from this showcase use the same hairpiece, but with a different color. So I ended up giving him that hairpiece. I think a hairpiece that would work really well is the brand new Obi-Wan mullet in dark gray. I think that piece would work really well, but obviously it doesn't exist in dark gray as of this moment. But then the torso, I went to work finding a good torso that was like nice and plain, but still had a little bit of detail. And the arms I just kind of gave him separately, so like don't worry about the arms. This torso actually came in 2 minifigures, and I'll put the ID of the piece up on the screen. This is technically the front of the torso, but I put it behind him because I think this looks better as the front of the torso. And he just has plain white legs, and I gave him a blaster from when, you know, he's going one way out, and, you know, they're escaping from the prison. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Andor, but, you know, it came out months ago, so you should be caught up at this point. But I'm very happy to have this figure because Andor is just so great, and I wanted to capture one of the great characters from Andor in minifigure form and display him next to the other figures from Andor. I got the Ambush on Ferret set for Christmas. I'll probably review that in the next couple of days or so. And I'm just excited to have him on display next to the other Andor minifigures. So very happy with how this figure came out. Quick bonus custom, one of the greatest characters of 2022, Eddie from Stranger Things. Love this little figure. So that's going to do it for this quick little custom showcase of these 5 minifigures that I've been working on for a little while. I'm very happy to have these little guys in my collection. Obviously, these 2 are not going to stick around for very long, but these 3 will be staples in my display for the time being. So thank you guys very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down below, and be sure to go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks again for watching. This has been Brian from Watermelon Studios. Peace out, guys.